This is a practice problem video for Unit 8 on transformations. We're going to be looking at translations, reflections, and rotations today. But we're going to start with translations. This is 8.1. And we're going to go through some of the practice problems. So let's see, number 1, we are going to take this figure here, and it looks like we're going to be doing x minus 4 and y plus 3. So in terms of x, if we're subtracting 4, okay, we're going to the left. And in terms of y, if we're going plus 3, we're going to be going up. All right, so we're going to take each of these points. I know these points are labeled a little weird. This point here is E and this is A. So what I want to do is just move the points 4 to the left and up 3. So if I start at E and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1, 2, 3, I'm right here. This is going to be E prime. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing for A. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2, 3. And there's A prime. All right, so I'm going to do the same for X and B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There's X prime. And for B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There's B prime. And now if we connect these dots, there's my image that's been moved over. So we slid it back and up, or to the left and then up. All right, so pretty similar for number 2. I just want to mention here that it looks like x is just staying at x, so that just means for this translation, we're not moving it left or right, anything. We're just moving it up or down. So what does -2 mean? Is that moving it up or down? I'll let you guys do that one. All right. Find the coordinates of the vertices of each figure. Okay, so we're just looking at the points here. So for 3 through 6, the translation is left, 2 units left. Okay, so if we're going to left, that's like -2, and 3 units up, that's +3 in terms of y. All right, so if we look at my x, y values, so 4 is x. So in terms of x, we're going down 2, so A prime would be 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then in terms of y, -5, we're going to add 3. So -5 plus 3 is -2. All right, S prime, look at x, which is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then we look at the y, -2 plus 3 is 1. So S prime is 1, 1. All right, E prime, look at the x value. X is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. And then look at the y coordinate. -5 plus 3 is -2. All right. So you guys should be able to do 4, 5, and 6. All right. Number 7 and 8. These are similar to problems 1 and 2. We're not given the pre-image. We need to graph that out first. So let's first plot out our pre-image. So let's start with plotting C, which is over 2 down 3. 1, 2, 3. So there's C. V is at over 3 up 1. And R is at over 5 down 2. All right. So here is my pre-image triangle. All right. And what am I going to be doing in terms of x? X minus 5. So I'm going to the left 5. And then in terms of y, I'm plus 4. So that's up. All right. So to move each one of these points, I'm going to go back or to the left 5, up 4. So for V, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2, 3, 4. So V prime is going to be here. And I'm going to do the same thing for R and C. I'll do C next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2, 3, 4. There's C prime, and then we'll do it for R. Over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left, and then up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. Let's label this R prime, and there is our new triangle, or our image. All right, so you guys can do the same thing for number 8. All right, let's move on to the back side of your practice problems. So it looks like 9 and 10 are pretty similar to stuff we've already done. 11 and 12 look about the same as well. Everything's about the same. Okay, so 15 and 16 a little bit different. We need to write the rules out for those. All right, so what we need to do is just look at our pre-image and how it is moved to our image. Okay, so remember the pre-image are just going to be the points, right? The regular points, and then our prime points is going to be our image. So once it has been moved. So for 15, we're starting with the black image here, and we're moving it over to the blue. So how do I go from, you can pick any one of the points. So I'm going to go with Q. How do I go from Q to Q prime? Well, in terms of X, I go over 1, 2, and I'll draw this out. I'm going to the left 2, so that would be -2, and then I'm going up 1, 2, 3. Oop, did this wrong, sorry. I'm going to the left 1, 2, 3, so that would be to the left -3, and then I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my X, Y, and what I'm doing is I'm taking X and I'm subtracting 3, and then I'm taking my Y value and adding 4. All right, so we should check that with another point, make sure it's the same. So how about we go with W? I go to the left, 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4. That lands right on W prime, so I know this is correct. All right. So you guys should be able to do the same thing for 16. And then we're also writing a rule for 17 and 18. So you're looking at how you go from the pre-image to the image. Okay, so in terms of X, you're looking at how do I go from -5 to -2? Okay, so these are my X values. So from -5 to -2, it looks like I'm adding 3. Okay, is that the same for this one here? -4 plus 3 is -1. Okay, that works out. -3 to 0, that's +3. And -5 to -2, that's +3. Okay, so there's our rule for X. So I'm going to write part of this out. I'm taking my X value and I'm adding 3. And now let's see what we're doing with Y. So now I'm looking at my Y values. Oops, and I wrote X's. Looking at my Y values. So how do I go from -3 to -2? Well, I'm adding 1. All right, let's make sure that's the same. So is that the case for X to X prime? 1 to 0, yeah, that's adding 1. For J to J prime, -1 to 0, yep, adding 1. And -5 to -4, that's adding 1. So there we go. We know we did this one correctly. So you guys can do the same thing for number 18. All right, moving on to practice problems for 8.2. This is reflections. So we know we have some rules that we can use for reflections, but it's definitely a lot easier just to look at the line that you're reflecting over and just count. Okay, so for number 1, we're reflecting across the y-axis. So the y-axis is here. Okay, so now what I need to do is take each of my points and count how many spots it takes to get to the line. So for C, I am 2 spots away from the right. So I need to just go in the other directions across the line. 1, 2, and here is C prime. Okay, I can do the same thing for B and D. So B is 1, 2, 3 spots away. So I go 1, 2, 3 in the other direction. And there is B prime. All right. D is a little bit different. It's on the other side of the y-axis, but that's okay. We're still going to count to the line that we're reflecting. So I'm going to say how many spots to get to the y-axis. Just one spot. So I go 1 in the other direction. So there is D prime. All right. So let's connect these points with some lines, and there you go. There is my reflected image. All right. Number 2. Pretty much the same thing, and maybe I'll do this one because this one is across the x-axis. So here's the x-axis here. So we're going to reflect across the x-axis. So let's look at B and C first. B is 1, 2, 3, 4 spots above. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 spots below. And there is B prime. For C, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here is C prime. And as you can see, for A is on the x-axis. So to reflect it, we don't have to go any spots away. So A and A prime are going to share that location. Okay? All right. I think this is probably good. 3 and 4 still just reflecting across the x and y axis. Number 5, we're reflecting across x is equal to 1, or sorry, -1. Well, that would be right here. Okay, this line is x is equal to -1. So there you go. Now you should be able to reflect that. And now this one is number 6 is reflecting across y is equal to 1. That would be right here. All right, that's a bad line. Try to do that better. Pretty hard on this pad that I have here. So this is y is equal to 1. There you go. You should be able to reflect that over that now. And moving on, now we just have to look at the practice problems for 8.3, which is rotations. And so these can be a little bit more complicated, but really what I'm looking at, especially on the test, is just so you recognize how these rotations work. So what you need to do is just pick a point. So I'm going to look at x and then see where x prime is. X prime is right here, okay? So you can have 2 answers for all of these. So basically what you're going to be looking at is we're starting in this quadrant, right? Okay, so a move over, if x prime were in this quadrant, it would be a 90-degree rotation clockwise, okay? If it's in this quadrant, it's going to be 180 degree, okay? And if we're in this quadrant, it's going to be 270. And if it were a full rotation back, that would be 360, okay? And so that would be going clockwise, okay? This would be clockwise, all right? However, you can kind of always have 2 answers here, so I'm going to erase everything. So we could also look at this going counterclockwise. But the same principle applies. So we're starting with this quadrant, okay? And if you end up in this quadrant, that would be a 90-degree rotation. All right, if you ended up in this quadrant, that would be a 180-degree rotation. Here would be 270, and then a full rotation around would, of course, be 360 again. So what are my 2 options for this here? To go from x to x prime, clockwise, this would be a 180-degree rotation, or a counterclockwise rotation of 90, 180. Okay, so either answer is correct. All right, hopefully that made sense. We'll do another one of these. I'll erase this here. So number 2, and let's do one that starts in a different quadrant. Let's do number 3. Let's change color. So we're starting, this one starts in the same quadrant. Let's do 5. Okay, so we're starting in this quadrant. Okay, and so we just need to look at one of our points. So I'm going to look at K. And so if K landed in this quadrant, if we were going counterclockwise, this would be a 90-degree rotation. If it lands in this quadrant, it would be a 180-degree rotation. Or let's do a different color. I'll go to green again. How about blue? There we go. And if it landed here, it would be 270. Or if it landed back in here, that would of course be a 360. Okay, so that would be in terms of counterclockwise. All right. So what do we have here? So if I go from K to K prime, that would be a counterclockwise rotation of 180 degrees. And then also, of course, because it's 180, if we went clockwise, if we went this way, it's also going to be, this would be a 90 degrees, 180, 270, 360. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I'll do one more with a little less going on. Let's do number 3. So let's look at one of our points of the pre-image and look at how it can go to the image. So from F to F prime. Okay, so in terms of a clockwise rotation, right, this would just be going from this quadrant, okay, 1 over. So this would be a 90-degree rotation clockwise. Or, okay, I'll do a different color. Or if I'm thinking about a counterclockwise, well, this would be 90 to this quadrant, 180 to this one, or 270 to here. So this would be either a 90-degree clockwise or a 270-degree rotation counter clockwise. All right. Hopefully that helped. If you're still a little bit confused on this, I know there was a lot going on with my colors and my bad drawing. So if you still need help, come see me on Google Meet or have your advisor call me down to your classroom. All right. Good luck, guys.